All right, welcome back, everybody, to the ninth episode of the Triple D's podcast. I'm your host, Devin, here with my co-host, David. It's been a while since we've been on here. We apologize for that. Our last episode we did was the NBA free agency special, I believe. Yeah, and that was just predicting the free agents. So now today, we're past the NBA offseason. We moved past that, but now we're entering the NFL season. The NFL offseason passed. Training camp has started. Preseason has started. So today, we're going to do a full in-depth breakdown, and we're going to do a prediction on every single division and every single team in the league. Okay, so we're just going to get straight into our NFL predictions right now. And also, we got some predictions from another outsider, Owen, my boy. So we're going to be getting his predictions as well, even though he can't be on with us today. So, David, Are you excited for the NFL season, first of all, bro? I just want to hear your thoughts preseason so far, like the hype, everything. Are you excited for week one? Just let me know.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. Obviously I'm excited for my own team. I'm cautious about my team, but yeah, I'm excited to watch a bunch of football this fall, and yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Lions, Chiefs, opening night on Thursday, and then some good Sunday game. I can't wait for Sunday football. I missed it, man. So, you ready to just hop straight into it?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, so I guess I'll start with the first division that I went through on my list. That's the NFC North. This division kind of got a little more complicated this offseason with some offseason changes from Chicago. Obviously, the big one from Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers being traded, the Detroit Lions looking a little better, and the Vikings reshaping their defense and hiring Brian Flores as their defense coordinator. So I'm going to start bottom to top on who I think is going to finish last in the division to who I think is going to finish at the top and what I think the record's going to be. So my first prediction, in last place in the NFC North, I have the Green Bay Packers, the Jordan Love-led Green Bay Packers. My prediction record for them is 5-12. I really don't see a ceiling for this team, in my opinion. I feel like their floor is like 4 wins and their ceiling is like 7 wins. There's no high ceiling, there's no low floor. Like, they're not going to be the worst team in football because they still have some pieces around them. But I mean, if you expect Jordan Love to be really good, you can't surround him with the weapons they have. They have really bad receivers. Christian Watson could be good, and he was really good towards the end of his rookie year last year, but that can't be the wide receiver one for a guy that you want to plug in, such as Jordan Love, and expect to make the team good, So that's why I think the Packers aren't going to be good. They still have Kenny Clark. They still have some good pieces on defense. Aaron Jones is still there. They still have that good running back duo of Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. But to me, it all comes down to Jordan Love and how he performs with Matt LaFleur. And I just think Jordan Love, from what I've seen so far, and even though he's had a full offseason as QB1 ahead of him now, I personally just don't think he can do much with this Packers team. I don't think there's much disagreement in terms of I think the Packers are going to make the playoffs. I mean, I really haven't heard anyone say the Packers are going to make the playoffs, but I haven't heard anyone say they're going to go 0-17. So that's my official prediction for the Packers, 5-12. I'm curious to see what you have to say for Green Bay.
Yeah, so I'm a little bit higher on the Packers, even though I do see where a lot of people come from in terms of Jordan Love even coming out of the draft, not the biggest prospect. And a lot of people are just thinking that he doesn't really have that it factor. But I do have them going at 8-9, just a little bit better. I think they'll be kind of like a middle-of-the-road team. And I've heard a lot of reports from preseason that, he's been playing better than expected, and obviously it's preseason. Just take it with a grain of salt. It doesn't always convert to regular season success. So I have them going 8-9, and that would put them in third place for me.
I'm just curious, what is the main factor that you see propelling them to an 8-9? Because 8-9 is where I have mediocre teams, in my opinion. So what makes you think that the Packers are a mediocre team rather than a bottom of the barrel team? Because you said you had them third in the North rather than fourth. What do you think makes them that a little bit of a tier higher? What do you think propels them towards that? I'm just curious.
I think I just believe a lot in Matt LaFleur. Like you said, they don't have the best weapons, but I think that if Christian Watson can stay healthy, that they can definitely do something at least. But they'll be third, and even though Matt LaFleur as a head coach has only had Aaron Rodgers, which could change, maybe that was just one thing where maybe Aaron Rodgers made him look good. But I think that Jordan Love, with having a whole off season, I think that a lot of people are he has his back against the wall, and yeah, I think that they'll end up third.
Okay, well, I mean, like you said, how you think Jordan Love like has a chance to excel in NBA? I think Jordan Love is kind of like the Packers in general. Like he doesn't really have the highest ceiling. I feel like he's kind of like a floor quarterback, like somebody you draft to just come in and maybe get the job done in a couple games. You know, like that. If he was kind of like maybe like a Justin Fields type player or like a higher overall draft pick or something that like, you know, they drafted him as a project. But it's kind of strange that they drafted him to be the backup, even though he's not a project in my opinion. But he could surprise anyone. But yeah, that's what I have for the Packers. So moving on, not far ahead of the Packers in third place in the North, I have the Chicago Bears. I have them going 6-11, and I just want to get this out of the way beforehand. I think they're overhyped. I think the Justin Fields hype has been insane. MVP candidate, don't talk to me. Don't talk to me. They added DJ Moore. They added some weapons on defense. They added some new linebackers. They added some new defensive line pieces. But I mean, I don't think DJ Moore is going to elevate Justin Fields to like the level that people say he's going to be at, you know? Like I just don't see it. The running game is weak with Donta Foreman. They lost David Montgomery, Donta Foreman, and Khalil Herbert. Although I do like Khalil Herbert. I think he's a pretty good running back. I don't think that makes up a good running back room. They still have Darnell Mooney, Cole Kmet, but that's literally the same exact thing. So in my opinion, just kind of like the Packers, but even more than the Packers, the Bears are relying heavily on a Justin Fields leap. And while it's not the craziest thing to say it, the amount of hype that's been like going for him is ridiculous in my opinion. Justin Fields is not that good of a quarterback. He's really not. I don't know if he's a top 20 passer in the league, in my opinion, right now. Because what the thing is he I don't want to be like that one guy who called Justin Herbert a social media quarterback or anything like that. But like I'm saying, like kids will see this guy have like a crazy rushing touchdown because in my opinion, he's the best rushing quarterback in the league, even better than Lamar. But his passing, I literally have not seen anything great from him. I've seen him miss passes. I've seen him make bad reads while watching them. And that is a little bit part of the reason why they can't win those close games, which was a big issue for the Bears last season. So I think they'll rely heavily on a Justin Fields jump. And while I think he will be better because that's just what's going to happen for a young quarterback, especially now with DJ Moore, which I think will help, I don't think they have enough to take that leap that people are saying to turn him into an MVP candidate to make the Bears playoff contenders. So I have the Bears at 6-11.
Yeah, so I have them in last place, 7-10. I think that they will be a little bit better. Justin Fields, I definitely think will take another step. In terms of like the whole MVP hype, I think that at best he would finish like top 5 in MVP voting, in my opinion. But I do think that like adding DJ Moore, my bad, is gonna help him a lot because I don't know. I really like Darnell Mooney, but I don't think he's a number one receiver. I don't think he thrives in that, even though he's had his flashes. But I think having DJ Moore at number one is going to help them. I think it's going to be mainly their defense that will like not help them as much. Like I think their offense will do more, maybe not more than enough, but I think their offense will score points to be in the game. But I think at the end of games, their defense is going to give up, that touchdown or that field goal that loses them the game. And yeah, so I have them going last. And like on their defense, I just don't have any, like I really don't know many players on their defense. Like there's not that one guy at least where like that stands out in my opinion. Because like they traded Roquan Smith last season to the Ravens, so they really don't have much star power there.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with the defense not being as good, but another hope for them, just like how they want to see a Justin Fields jump on offense. I don't know if you know Jaquan Brisker. He was their first or second round safety last year. I think they drafted. He had really promising rookie year. He played really good. So if he takes a big league, that could help out their secondary for sure. Because Eddie Jackson, as good as he was and maybe still is, he's getting up there in age and he's getting more injury prone. Obviously, they made the big splashes by signing Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards at the linebacker position, and that'll help them for sure. But like I said, with Justin Fields and DJ Moore, do I think that's going to elevate them? No. So So we kind of have this similar opinion on the Bears. If you have any different opinions, let us know. Like if you think Justin Fields is going to MVP, try to sway me that way, but it's probably not going to happen. So moving on, in second place, revealing my winner, but I won't get into the winner until after. My second place team in the NFC North is the Minnesota Vikings, who I expect to have a drop off this season. As much of a what's the word? How am I blanking right now? What's the word when unpopular? Jesus Christ, as much of an unpopular opinion it might be. with Brian Flores being hired as defensive coordinator, I think their defense sucks. Like, me personally, I think their defense is trash. Like, they don't have the D-line power. They lost Eric Kendricks. Harrison Smith is up there in age. Their corners are trash. They lost Pat Pete, who's not even that good, but he was good enough to, like, serve as a serviceable corner. He left. And while I like Kirk Cousins, and I think Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback to have, like a good system quarterback who can do everything you have the best receiver in the league. You lost Adam Thielen, but me personally, I have faith in Jordan Addison to hop right into that role because I liked him in college and I liked his tape. I liked him during training camp and in the preseason. And then they have KJ Osborne who showed some flashes last season, but obviously they lost Dalvin Cook. And another unpopular opinion for me is that everyone's saying they have one of the worst running games in the league. Alexander Mattison is good, dude. Like, he is good. Like, I don't know if y'all know, but every single game that Dalvin Cook has missed, he's had as good or if not better game than, like, Dalvin Cook had during his career or anything. He would be a Pro Bowler probably. He would probably be a Pro Bowler as many times as Dalvin Cook if he was in that starting role. So, while I don't think maybe he's the elevator that Dalvin Cook is in terms of, like, being a workhorse running back like he was in his past couple years, I think he can still bring something to that offense. But I just think the defense completely holds them back, man. I don't see Kevin O'Connell and Kirk Cousins, finding that chemistry in the second year. I mean, I see them developing, but not, to the extent where they would like to get to. And I just really think the defense holds them back. I don't like anything about that defense. So I have them going 9-8, and I didn't do my complete, like, playoff bracket predictions, but I wouldn't be surprised if they missed the playoffs because of their defense. I think they need to make a trade there or something. So that's what I have on the Vikings for my prediction.
Yeah, so the Vikings, for me, this might surprise you a bit. I think that they're going to still end up in first place, but they won't be the best team ever. I think that Kevin O'Connell and Kirk Cousins' relationship is going to get better. Even though last year I think they were 12-5, they obviously had a fluke season with losing the first game of the playoffs against the Giants, against Daniel Jones.
Yeah, that was crazy.
But, obviously they had, a bad game against the Eagles. They lost against the Cowboys, I'm pretty sure.
They got blown out.
Yeah. So I have them going at 11-6. So one game that they'll lose more. I think I do agree with their defense. It's not the best. Their only bright spot I would say would be like Danielle Hunter. And I think that their offense will still be good, if not better, with getting rid of Adam Thielen. Even though I loved him, he was just getting up there in age. And they weren't willing to pay him. And they did lose Dalvin Cook, but Alexander Mattison, you plug him into that offense, he's going to give you those yards, from the backfield and catching as well.
Yeah, and also along with the reason why I think the Vikings won't be as good, I think they're one injury away from just, completely going on a steady decline. A Kirk Cousins injury, a Justin Jefferson injury, any injury to their corners, as bad as they are. Their cornerback one is Byron Murphy, who I don't know much about in terms of him, but I've heard from Cardinals fans, because that's where we used to play, that he's garbage. They don't have any good corners. They have Harrison Smith, who's getting up there in age, not as good as he's still a good player, but he can't carry that secondary on his own. Let's be honest. I feel like I feel like they might score 25 a game, but they're gonna give up 30 a game. So yeah, that's I don't know if you would call that a bold prediction, because a lot of people are saying that the Vikings defense is just not good at all, and I mean, as much as good as it is to bring in Brian Flores, who's a really good defensive coordinator in my opinion, I don't know what he can do with that group. I think they need to make a corner trade, need to make a linebacker trade, because like you said, I think Danielle Hunter is the only good player on that defense, and he's one guy on the edge that I don't think, against a good tackle, I don't think he's like a top 5 edge in the league. I mean, he's good, but so yeah, that's what I have for the Vikings. So that leads me to my first place team being the Detroit Lions. I think it's time for them not to take the huge step, but for them to take the tiny step. I have them finishing 10-7. I'm pretty sure they finished 8-9 or 9-8 and 9-8 last year. Don't remember exactly, but I have them going 10-7. I think Jared Goff is one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the league. I really don't think he's had a drop off. He's not really getting up there in range. He hasn't hit 30 yet. And I think he can still produce like he did when he took the Rams to the Super Bowl. I mean, I really think he's an underrated quarterback just because he doesn't do any of the flashy stuff. He doesn't put up big stats, but he can get the job done. He has Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's, in my opinion, one of the best young receivers in the league. He's really good in the slot and on the outside. Jameson Williams, suspended for 6 games. I have high hopes for that kid. He played 1 game last season, and he caught a 60-yard touchdown. He has burners. He's a deep threat. He can do it all. They don't have a good tight end option, but one thing that I do think is going to elevate this offense, although a lot of people say it was really bad decision by the Lions, I really liked them picking Jahmyr Gibbs at 12 to be their starting running back. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is a special talent. After watching the tape at Bama, after seeing him in training camp, him paired with David Montgomery. David Montgomery is like that ground and pound guy who can also come in to take some receiving work off of the rookie who may not be fully ready for a workhorse load yet. But Jahmyr Gibbs is still there, and I think he's a special talent, man. I think he can be up there with Bijan Robinson in Offensive Rookie of the Year talks for sure, and I think he'll definitely elevate that offense another step. Obviously, we have to have talks about the defense because the Lions last season were kind of like how I'm predicting the Vikings to be this season. Explosive offense, but with a defense that just, like, I don't know if you remember that game last season against the Seahawks where the Lions lost like 50-45 or something like that. Like, it's just ridiculous. You know, they don't really have any good corners. I'm pretty sure they drafted a corner. I don't remember who exactly, but they have Aiden Hutchinson going for them. But yeah, but overall, I think that offense is good enough to take them there. And like I said, I think they can win their divisional matchups against the Vikings to give them that edge. So I have the Lions finishing one game ahead of the Vikings at 10-7. So I want to hear your thoughts on the Lions.
Yeah, so I actually have them going in second place. I have them going 10-7, so same record, just in a different standing. I think that the Lions, everyone loves them. You know, I love them. Dan Campbell, you know, one of the best, maybe one of the best coaches. Yeah, he hasn't proven it yet, in my opinion, in terms of wins and playoff appearances. But I think they can take another step. But like we talked about this before the pod, like putting them against the Chiefs to open up the NFL regular season on Thursday, week 1, is like not the best thing for them, in my opinion. Like they could get blown out. Like they're most likely going to get blown out. But I think from there they can turn it around and start, you know, gaining some momentum. They are a tad bit overrated in my opinion, but I do like their defense with Aiden Hutchinson. They got that one safety from the Eagles. CJ Gardner. Yeah. I like him a lot. And I like his mentality. So it's like his mentality and the way he plays is what Detroit needs. I think Jared Goff is a good quarterback. Definitely underrated. Like you said, they have great weapons. Will he be like top 10? I don't think so. Maybe top 15. But overall, the Lions, I think, will be a much better team this season.
And one other thing I want to say, just like how you were talking about with the opening game, there's a lot of people. I saw this one guy say the Detroit Lions are going to win the Super Bowl. It missed me with that because, like I said, I think, like I said when I first mentioned that I have the Lions winning the North, I said that they're going to take, like, this is where they were asking, I said they're going to take a step, not a step like up here, like a bunch of people are predicting. I think maybe a bold prediction of mine for next season will be that's when they're going to take their next step. If they add another piece, if Jared Goff continues his good play, if their offensive weapons continue to develop well, Jameson Williams and everything. But yeah, like I said, the NFL putting them against the Chiefs in that opener, I think they're expecting them to be that team that jumps to that Super Bowl contender level, but I just don't think they're there yet. That's why I don't like them putting the Lions on. As much as I love the Lions, I really do. I was rooting for them like the whole last half of the season to make the playoffs. As much as I like them, I just don't think they're ready for that. But I do have high hopes for the Lions, and I'll actually have them as one of my sleeper teams to win like 12 games. I feel like their ceiling is probably like a 12-game winning season. And that's if everyone's clicking. Jameson Williams is a beast when he comes back. Aiden Hutchinson is a Defense Player of the Year candidate. CJ Gardner-Johnson, Kirby Joseph, they all improve that secondary, and their defense ends up being good. So if you have anything for the NFC North, let me know. But that's what I have.
No, that's okay.
All right, so those are our NFC North predictions. We kind of had similar, except you had 1-2 flipped, me and you had 1-2 flipped, and 3-4 flipped. But other than that, pretty much the same. So next one is probably the hardest one to rank, or one of the hardest to rank is, and probably one of the, if not the best divisions in football, the NFC East. Really tough because the Philadelphia Eagles, very good team. One of the, if not the best rosters in football to many people. The Cowboys have always been good in the regular season the past couple of years. The Giants, we obviously saw them blossom with Brian Daboll last year, and the Washington Commanders hired Eric Bieniemy to be their offensive coordinator, as he's probably, in my opinion, the best in the entire association. So I'm going to start out and I'm going to say that as much as I like them, I do have the Washington Commanders coming in last place in the NFC East at 7-10. That might surprise some people. I've seen a lot of people saying they're going to be a 5-win team, 6-win team. Sam Howell's not going to do that. I have high hopes. My number one sleeper in the NFC conference is the Washington Commanders. I can see them winning 10 games if everything clicks. I have high hopes for Sam Howell. Other than Brock Purdy, I have never seen a rookie come into a game like he did when he started the last 2 weeks of last season against a good defense like the Cowboys, come in and look so confident. If you watch the tape from that game, he was making throws like he's a 10-year NFL vet. That really showed something to me. As soon as I watched that game, I was saying, I have a feeling that this guy's going to be good and he can stay in the league for a long time. And I truly believe that. He's had a whole offseason under his belt. He beat out Jacoby Brissett for QB1. He has Antonio Gibson and Brian Robinson in the backfield, and he has 2 great weapons in my opinion. Terry McLaurin is a bit underrated just because. And while I do agree he's not in the top tier of elite receivers, I think he's in the tier of really good receivers, and I think he can be a wide receiver 1 on a good team. And underrated as hell is Jahan Dotson. He can be a good deep threat. He can catch the deep ball. He can aggressive catch over defenders. He's a good route runner. I really love him. He was really good as a rookie last season. So the Washington offense, and then the final part I didn't even mention yet is Eric Bieniemy. Eric Bieniemy, the fact that he left Kansas City for Washington shows me something. Shows me that he wants to prove that he can do, because everyone praises Coach Reid, Andy Reid, for all Kansas City's success. I think he wants to prove himself, and I think Washington is probably the best option that he could do that. So while I don't see them reaching that huge ceiling that I personally have for them at 7-10, I would not be surprised, and I want everyone to watch for the Washington Commanders because Sam Howell, I have high hopes for the kid. I'm not saying he's going to be a star, but I'm saying that he can be a pretty good quarterback. So that's my take on the Commanders.
Yeah, I actually have them in last place as well, but as well as 7-10. I like Sam Howell as well. I think he can be a good facilitator in his first year. Starting, they have a solid team around him. Apparently, there's been reports coming out where some guys have been kind of annoyed and don't really like Eric Bieniemy's coaching style, which is what I think is gonna make them not be able to go more than 7-10, just because they still are coming out of the Dan Snyder era. You don't just immediately stop thinking about that or get that energy out of the air, even though they do have new owners now. But yeah, I would love to see them go 7-10 or more. Their fan base deserves it because they've been mediocre. Not even mediocre. They've been horrible for a long time. And yeah, I think that their defense is somewhat solid, but their offense definitely shines more with Terry McLaurin. Antonio Gibson, since his rookie year in 2020 hasn't really done too much. But I do like him, and Bijan Robinson, hopefully stays healthy this year fully. And yeah, I see them going 7-10.
Yeah, I mean, I have huge hopes for the Commanders, honestly. And we didn't even mention their defense. I have hopes that Chase Young can come back to normal. Do I think that now, after the ACL and other injuries, do I think he has the chance to become one of those top edges in the league that a lot of people thought he was going to be when he first came into the league and blossomed in his rookie year? I don't, but I do think that he can be a really good edge. They have probably the best defensive tackle duo in the league in Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne. Montez Sweat is a very speedy edge rusher. I love him. Kendall Fuller has been great. Jamin Davis has broken out as a really good middle linebacker. And while their corner is kind of iffy, they did draft Emmanuel Forbes with their first-round pick, and I've seen lots of good reports of him coming from training camp, coming out of preseason. So if he can, have a really good, if he can be cornerback 1 from this draft class for the Commanders, and he can put together a really good rookie season in a team that has playoff aspirations, I think that would be perfect for what the Commanders are trying to do, because I think it's perfect they hired Eric Bieniemy because Ron Rivera is more defensive-minded coach, and I think he leads a better defense. And obviously Eric Bieniemy is the offensive coordinator, and he'll have full control over that part. And going back to what you were saying about the reports of Eric Bieniemy's like his coaching style being like rejected by the players, that's ridiculous in my opinion. Like it's probably, like you said, it's because they're just getting out of the Dan Snyder era. You're an NFL player, you got to deal with it. He's coming here to win. I don't know if that's because the players in Washington don't have a winning mentality or what, but they just got to deal with that. And I feel like he's not going to put up with that crap, and he'll bench whoever doesn't agree no matter what. So yeah, even though don't let it deceive you that I have the Washington Commanders coming in last place. That's just because I have them in a really good division. But I have high hopes for the Commanders, and if they play really good this season, come back to this because I have high hopes for the Commanders. I'll let you go for this one with your third place team, and I want to hear your thoughts on who you think is in third place and what the record will be and everything.
Yeah, so third place, not too much of a jump. The Giants, I think, are going to come in third place at 8-9. I think that the magic from last year is going to run out. I do like Brian Daboll. I think that he'll continue being a good coach. It's just that the whole Saquon Barkley situation with him not wanting to sign a extension that he thinks, he thinks that he deserves more, which I do think that they should have paid him that premium, because while yes, most of the time you don't want to pay a running back a very big price because obviously they start to get injured, they don't play as well. Like that's literally their offense. Saquon Barkley is their offense. Like they didn't have the best passing offense either. So I think that with that drama going in, he accepted a franchise tag that was kind of like a kitty tag. And I think that he won't be with them anymore after this season, especially because maybe he won't have as big as a season that he did last season. But yeah, I think that they're just gonna kind of like go take a step back. Daniel Jones, should have gave the money, or they should have given the money that they gave Daniel Jones to Saquon Barkley and the franchise tag to Daniel Jones. But and their defense is pretty good. Like they have Kayvon Thibodeau, the guy from Oregon, who I like. They have Landon Collins as well, who's a decent safety. But yeah, I think that their offense is. They got rid of Kenny Golladay finally after his horrible play and only scoring one touchdown for $77 million. So, yeah. Who do you see going in third, or what do you see the Giants going?
I actually agree with you. I have the Giants going in third place. I have them one game ahead of you. I have them going 9-8. But I do completely agree. I think they're going to take a step back. They won, 11 games last year? 10, 11 games? Either 10
yeah, 11.
11 games.
I want to say 11, yeah.
Yeah. So I have them taking a drop back. I don't think this is because of Brian Daboll. I think Brian Daboll is the best coach, one of the best. I can't call him that yet, but one of the best coaches in the league for sure. He proved that last season. But like you were saying that Saquon Barkley got a franchise tag. I don't know if you heard, but they gave him a 2-year deal. That actually now.
Oh, a 2-year deal. Yeah.
They got rid of that franchise. They gave him it's not a full extension, but they gave him the 2-year deal. So I think he's good now. So I don't think that'll have anything to do with them kind of falling off. I do think they could sneak into the 7 seed, being 9-8, but I wouldn't be surprised if they missed the playoffs. The only reason I don't have them dropping off a cliff, maybe even being 7-10 or something, with the Commanders at the bottom of the East, is because of the addition of Darren Waller. I have a feeling that he's going to stay healthy this season. I love Darren Waller. It's just the guy cannot stay healthy, and you can't rate him as a top 5 tight end if he's not healthy. You just can't. But as much as you're not supposed to believe an extreme amount of hype coming out of training camp, I am buying stock into the Darren Waller hype, man. He is Daniel Jones' number 1 target. He's going to have a 1,000-yard receiving season, and I don't think he's going to miss more than 3 games, max, in my opinion. I think he's going to be a great addition to this offense. The Giants have been looking for a number 1 weapon the whole Daniel Jones era, the whole entire one, and I think he's finally found that in Darren Waller. So that's the only reason why I don't have them taking a big drop. The reason I have them taking a big drop is because Daniel Jones. I have never believed in Daniel Jones. I really do think last season is going to be one of his, if not his best season of his career. I think he's going to fall off. I think he's not going to have the same rushing stats. He's not going to throw for as many yards. And I think, like you said, it's going to be Saquon. It's going to be Saquon to pull that offense, like you said. They still don't have a real wide receiver one. Their wide receiver core is trash. Isaiah Hodgins obviously broke out a little bit in the playoffs last year and towards the end of the regular season, but he's not a legit wide receiver one. Darius Slayton, that Sterling Shepard is coming back, and he is pretty good, but he's torn his ACL twice now. I don't have high hopes for him. Jalen Hyatt, though, they drafted him. He could maybe be good. I haven't heard much from him coming out of training camp, but he could be good. But Darren Waller is the only reason why I'm keeping my hopes high. Darren Waller and Saquon Barkley and Brian Daboll are the reasons why I'm keeping my hopes high on the Giants. And then moving on to the defense, they do have a really good D-line with the duo of Dexter Lawrence, one of the best D tackles in the league, and Kayvon Thibodeau, a rising edge. They do have Leonard Williams, who was really good a couple years ago, and he's still good. Their cornerback position is not the best. Adoree Jackson is a good corner, but I don't know if that's enough to make them an elite secondary. You know, they have Xavier McKinney, who's pretty good, and then they drafted Deonte Banks, who I don't think they expect to have a huge impact year one, but he can be good down the line. So I expect the Giants to be a middle of the pack team in the scheme all the scheme of things in the NFC. So yeah, that's my opinion on the Giants. So so I'll move on to my number 2 team in the NFC East. I have the Dallas Cowboys. I do have them dropping a couple games. I have them at 10-7 in comparison to their 12-win season from last year, I believe. Excuse me. I just think that Dak Prescott isn't going to change his ways. I've never been high on Dak. In my opinion, he has a strong arm, and that's about it. He's not the most accurate quarterback. You could see that from him leading the league in interceptions, and I don't see that dying down, man. Like, you can see all the interceptions he's thrown in training camp and preseason, or not preseason, but training camp. Horrible INTs to average defenders, and he's going to be facing really good defenders in his conference, in his division, in those big games that the Cowboys are going to need to win to stay at the top of the East or the top of the NFC in general. But they added Brandon Cooks, which I really do like for them. I think they were missing a legit wide receiver too. Dalton Schultz was kind of Dak's second option last year, and he's now with Houston. But so that's what I think for them. Brandon Cooks is going to be good as a deep threat. I can definitely see him catching some bombs from Dak Prescott, like I said, with Dak having a strong arm. On the defensive side, they still have DeMarcus Lawrence. They still have Micah Parsons. Still have Trayvon Diggs, although me personally, I think Trayvon Diggs is one of the most overrated cornerbacks in the NFL just because of that one high interception season. But they have really good players all around. They're a good team. Will they do good in the playoffs? No. They're the Dallas Cowboys. They will never make it. They're not making it past the second round. I'm Charles Barkley guaranteeing it. It's not going to happen. But they're a good regular season team. I don't see really a scenario where they drop out of the playoffs unless Dak shits the bed and injury happens. Brandon Cooks can't stay healthy. They become injury prone. Mike McCarthy is realizing his days are the clock is ticking in Dallas. That's the way where I see them not making the playoffs or not having a good season. But I do have them dropping off simply because I think the time's running out for Dak Prescott, man. Prove me wrong, Dak, but I just don't think Dak is an elite quarterback and good enough to lead them past the Philadelphia Eagles in the East.
Yeah, I also have them going at 10-7 with, familiar reasoning. I think my main reason is that, Mike McCarthy just does not, I can't be sold on him, man. He is a decent coach. I think that, his peak was definitely, winning that Super Bowl so many years ago with Aaron Rodgers. And I think that's the only reason why he even got the job in Dallas a couple of years ago. But, Dak, not the best quarterback, not the worst either. I think their defense is going to take another step forward with adding Stephon Gilmore as cornerback too.
Yeah, I was just remembering that.
Opposite of Trayvon Diggs. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And obviously Micah Parsons, I think every year he's just going to keep getting better. Mm-hmm. And yeah, DeMarcus Lawrence, man. I think that they'll finish second, not perform well in the playoffs as well. Mm-hmm. But yeah, and also I don't know, like you said, they were having a really bad training camp in terms of Dak, throwing into double coverage deep, yep. Not even at least giving the receiver a chance. He's actually passes. Just threw it to the DB.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. What's their running back? Tony Pollard, right?
Tony Pollard, yeah.
Tony, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I do like him a lot. He's one of the best backs when he's healthy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got
Yeah.
them in second place.
All right, well, that's good that we think alike. But I agree. I forgot about Stephon Gilmore somehow. I mean, that was kind of an under-the-radar trade. They got him for, what, a fifth-round pick, sixth-round pick, something like that. That's a really good addition for them. I think Gilmore is still a really good cornerback. Not as elite as he used to be, obviously, but he's still really good. Especially as a cornerback, too. He's probably one of the, if not the best corner twos in the league. So that actually improves their secondary a lot, especially with the firepower they're going to be going against in their conference and in their division. But Tony Pollard I really like as well. I've been saying for the last 3 years now, even before anyone knew who Tony Pollard was, the Cowboys need to cut their ties with Zeke. His prime was his rookie year, and he fell off. Like get the man out of here, please. And they finally did cut ties with Zeke, and I'm happy for that. But also Deuce Vaughn, I think he's really making a case for him to be RB2, man. Like, if you just watch how he's been playing in the preseason, dude, he is one of the most agile, shifty backs in the league already, bruh. Like, he is breaking, like, defenders off him left and right. I've never seen a guy so quick coming right out of college. I think he's making a strong case for that RB2, especially with Ronald Jones suspended for the beginning of the season. So I think them two could be really good in the backfield. But Tony Pollard, I have huge hopes for. He's a great receiving back. He's a great rusher, and he's 10 times the running back of Ezekiel Elliott. And I think he's a top 10 back in the league for sure, and he'll elevate that offense. But I just see them taking a step back just because, I don't know. I just have a feeling Dak's not going to be as good. The defense is going to be good, but it's not going to be enough to completely carry the team to a first-place finish in the East. So, yeah, that's my thought on the Cowboys. But regardless of what we say of our regular season record, we can all agree they're going out in the wild card or the divisional rounds because that's just the Dallas Cowboys, man. That's just how they roll. So, if you want to go ahead with your first-place team and give your thoughts on them, I'll let you go ahead.
Yeah, so first place we obviously both got the Eagles. I have them going 12-5 instead of 14-3 like they were last year. They did lose a couple of guys because it always happens. No matter if you win or lose the Super Bowl, you're always going to lose a couple of guys because their value just goes up. Mm-hmm. Like they lost C.J. Gardner-Johnson, they lost Miles Sanders. Even though they did bring in DeAndre Swift, who I really like, he's not reliable in terms of his health. So, he could have a healthy season or he could have a just injury-prone season. And, yeah, but, they gave a big contract to their quarterback. I love Jalen Hurts. I've always believed in him since they drafted him. And, yeah, I think that, the hate that he was getting after they lost to the Buccaneers, 2 years ago was a little crazy because he just didn't have a good team. Mm-hmm. But amazing offense, Devonta Smith, a number 2, A.J. Brown at the 1, and they got the Watkins dude, as their slot guy. There's really is no stopping their offense. Their defense is great as well. They got Darius Slay, who's still 31 in his 30s. Yeah. He's still playing really well, even though 30s for a cornerback is kind of a death sentence almost. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they're one of my favorite NFC teams, if not my favorite right now.
Yeah, so I agree, obviously, Eagles in first place. I have them going 13-4, taking a step back. I think they're going to run the division. I think they're going to run the NFC in terms of during the regular season, and they're just going to win a bunch of games. The reason I see them losing games is just because they play another good opponent or they just have one bad game, kind of like they did against the Commanders last season to break their, 11-0, 8-0, whatever it was, something like that.
I want to say 8-0.
I think it was 8, yeah. I was reading something earlier. I think it was 8. But, yeah, this team is just the best in the league. It's arguable, but I think this team's the best in the league. Jalen Hurts, really good quarterback, man. I think he's gonna have a similar season to last season. I really don't see a drop off or anything. He's gonna be an MVP candidate. His rushing upside, he's become such a good passer over the last couple of years. I really like Jalen Hurts, especially with his weapons around him. But not much to say about Jalen Hurts in terms of he's a special guy, but I think he's really good. He's gonna throw for 300 yards a game. He's gonna rush for a touchdown. He proved in the Super Bowl that he is an elite quarterback, possible top 5 quarterback in the league to some. But yeah, so Jalen Hurts, I think he's gonna do his thing, be pretty much the same quarterback he was last year, which is really good. I actually really like what they did at running back because Miles Sanders was their clear workhorse RB1 last year. And I was actually reading something that I completely agree with. The year that the Eagles won the Super Bowl in 2017, they ran a running back committee with LeGarrette Blount, Boston Scott, who else was on? Jay Ajayi. They ran an RB committee, and it worked perfectly. And it worked. Corey Clement, yep. And it worked perfectly because they had all these really good rushers, and they were just switching them off, and the defense could handle. And I think they're trying to replicate that. They were a game away from winning the Super Bowl, and I think this could take them over the step. DeAndre Swift and Miles Sanders are very similar backs, in my opinion. DeAndre Swift is a little more elusive. Obviously, they're taking the risk with the injury-prone aspect of him, along with Rashad Penny, because Rashad Penny is also coming off of some devastating injuries. But if fully healthy, that is a really good RB duo. There's no clear RB1, in my opinion, even though DeAndre Swift to most is like a clear RB1, and he might even be the workhorse. I completely disagree. I think they're going to run an RB back committee. Kenneth Gainwell and Boston Scott, the Giants owner, I think they're going to come into games, and they're going to do their thing sometimes. And then obviously they have top 5, top 3, whatever you want to call it. I don't know, wide receiver duo in the league. A.J. Brown is a monster. He's going to have another great season. I can see 1,300 or more yards for him. Devonta Smith, amazing. I mean, he's just incredible. Like the way he can catch the ball, his route running, I feel like could get some improvement, but he has hands, man. He can make some incredible catches over defenders, under defenders, everything. I think he'll definitely have a 1,000-yard receiving season. Dallas Goedert, I think top 5 tight end in the league. They have him as a third option, which is insane. And then, like you were saying, they did lose some pieces on the offensive line, but they replaced them pretty well, and they still have probably the best O-line. Jason Kelce, one of the best centers in the league. Lane Johnson, probably the best right tackle in the league. Landon Dickerson, very good. Jordan Mailata, very good. You know, all these guys are so good. And I think that's also a big reason why Jalen Hurts took that step. Like you said, the year they lost to the Buccaneers in the wild card, a big part of that was not just the receivers around him that weren't good, but the O-line wasn't good. It was just Jason Kelce. They went in, they brought in these guys. I'm pretty sure they had a bunch of guys hurt that year, and then now look where it took them. It took them to the Super Bowl last year. Moving on to the defense, Darius Slay, although it seemed like he was going to leave, they were able to bring him back. They bring back the duo of him and James Bradberry, which were very good all season long, one of the best cornerback duos. I mean, they just have such a good team overall. I don't see how you could see this team getting less than 12 wins. And I mean, I think they're going to be the 1 seed probably in the NFC again, earning that bye. But one guy I have huge hopes for, and while I do understand why he fell in the draft, he's a reckless driver, whatever. He is the best talent in the draft. Period. Jalen Carter is a stud. He is going to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. Mark my words. He's going to have a 15 sack season, a 12 to 15 sack season. He is destroying like good offensive guards and good centers in the league. He is just bulldozing anyone in his way. He is so good. He is so athletic for a defensive tackle. Him and Fletcher Cox on the inside is OP, man. Like, that is insane. They got one of the biggest steals of the draft in Jalen Carter. Speaking of biggest steals in the draft, although he might not play as much just because of how stacked his defense is, they drafted Nolan Smith, who has the record for the fastest 40-yard dash from a linebacker or edge rusher, and he's really good as well. He's been really good in the preseason. Brandon Graham's getting up there in age. That's why if he doesn't perform, I could see him getting replaced on the edge by Nolan Smith. Nakobe Dean is improving as a young linebacker. And then obviously they have another really good, one of the best edge rushers in the league, Hassan Reddick. I mean, the defense is stacked, man. Like, what else can I say? The D-line is elite with Jalen Carter, especially if he plays good like he has been and stays healthy. Fletcher Cox, who's been good his whole career. They have Josh Sweat off one edge. Hassan Reddick, insane edge rusher. Obviously, they lost C.J. Gardner-Johnson, which hurts, but I really like Reed Blankenship. I think in the reps he got in last year's playoffs, he showed that he's capable of that starting job, and now they're giving it to him. But yeah, Darius Slay and James Bradberry obviously are really good corner duo. They drafted Kelly Ringo, the guy from Georgia. They drafted him in the 2nd or 3rd round. Like, they got so many steals and so many Georgia players, bro. Like, this team's going to be the best in the NFC. Like, I mean, the roster is so good. It's all going to come down to the playoffs for them, but that's not what I'm not talking about playoffs now. We're talking about regular season, and I think the Eagles have an amazing all-around roster. Just from top to bottom, every single position is filled out perfectly for them to make another Super Bowl run, in my opinion.
Yeah, man, like they are so stacked, and if they stay like healthy in most parts, like they will be number one seed. Hell, I would probably even say they're going to be Super Bowl champions. In my opinion, they're like one of the only teams that could probably beat them, and like can actually contend with them as like the Chiefs and like Bengals and Bills. Like those are really the only like three other teams that could beat them. And the NFC against the Eagles, I don't really see any other like the 49ers if they can figure out their, even though Purdy is their number one quarterback, if he can just get back to 7-0 Purdy at the end of the season last year, they can definitely contend with them. But yeah, like Jalen Hurts even had like some might argue that he had a better game than Patrick Mahomes, even though he did have that fumble that ended up in a touchdown. I think he's going to end up being MVP. He was second in voting last year, and even though he's not a Mahomes, he might not be able to throw while he's like 1 inch from hitting the ground, like Mahomes did in the Super Bowl. I think that hell he could maybe even have a higher ceiling than Mahomes, in my opinion. I don't know. That's me though.
All right.
Like I think he's that good.
We're gonna mark this.
He's that
we're
good.
gonna mark this right here. David is all in, and I mean all in on the Eagles and Jalen Hurts. All in. Remember, This is our official prediction, so all in. I mean, we're not. Yeah. I'm not making no Super Bowl. I thought we were saving that. I'm not making no MVP prediction right now. I'm not making no Super Bowl champ prediction right now. I'll save that for who knows. Maybe a week from now we'll do that. But for those of you that are watching, David is all in on the Eagles, so that's good to know. But
I'll eat my words if I'm wrong. If I'm completely wrong.
Yeah, higher ceiling than Mahomes is kind of crazy, but okay. We're all in on the Eagles. We got it. Okay. So that's the NFC East, probably the hardest division to rank. Aside from maybe this division is this actually took me probably like 30 minutes to rank. Next, I have the NFC South. Obviously no complete outlier in terms of a really one team that's going to be way at the bottom, one team that's going to be way at the top. All these teams, in my opinion, have the chance to win the division, just like how it was last year. But I think it's going to be really close throughout the whole year. It's going to come down to probably the last game to see who's going to win the division. But I guess I'll just start out with my last place team, and I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I have them going 6-11, and while, don't get me wrong, I am a huge believer in their weapons they have on offense, and I still think they have a good offense and some pieces on defense. You just can't go from Tom Brady to Baker Mayfield and expect to win the division. You just can't. They lost out on a bunch of guys. They're injury-prone team. Mike Evans, obviously, he's one of the most underrated receivers of our time. He's had a 1,000-yard receiver every year of his career, and I think that can continue this year, even with Baker Mayfield, who got announced as the starter today. Chris Godwin is still there. Like I'm saying, they have really good weapons. Rachaad White, I really do like him, although, in my opinion, the Buccaneers do have one of the weakest running back rooms in the league with Rachaad White and Chase Edmonds as their RB1 and 2. I liked Rachaad White. There was a reason why he was getting more reps over Leonard Fournette later in the season last year. They still got guys like Vita Vea, Carlton Davis, Antoine Winfield. They still got guys like that on the defense. So they still have really good players. It's just I'm not too high on Todd Bowles. I can't say that Baker Mayfield is going to be good. I don't think it's possible for those words to come out of my mouth. And I can see injuries piling up for this team because of how old the team is. I feel like the Buccaneers have to be one of the oldest teams in the league. I don't know. It kind of seems like that to me. But so I have them going 6-11. So not necessarily like they're bad, but they're not going to be like horrible, like a 3-win team. I don't see them being like competing for the number 1 pick bad, but they're not going to make the playoffs. They can compete. Like I said, every single team has a chance to win the South with how close everyone is in this division. But yeah, I have the Buccaneers in last place at 6-11. I feel like we're going to have different opinions for this division because this can go so many ways. But I want to hear your thoughts on the Buccaneers and who you have in last place.
I have the Buccaneers going 7-10, which would make them third place in my rankings because I don't like Baker Mayfield as much anymore. I think that just combining him and Todd Bowles is going to be one of the worst head coach and quarterback combinations in the league. Um, like I do agree, Mike Evans is probably gonna have another great year. Chris Godwin is a little bit injury prone. He's had a couple. He's had like an ACL tear. I think he's had some hamstring injuries
Yeah.
too. But their defense is very solid. Anton Winfield, I really like. Devin White, their middle linebacker, Levante David. Even at his age, he's been able to keep up. And keep up some really good play. And yeah, I think that they'll end up third, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised if, like, in the middle of the season, either Baker gets injured again or he just starts to play really bad and they put in Kyle Trask.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, as much as I don't think Baker has ever been the worst quarterback in the league, I think him trying to play through all those shoulder injuries last season like really screwed him up and screwed up his perception to everybody. I never thought Baker was really good, but I always thought that he was like quarterback who can come in and play. But because he kind of showed that in some games with the Rams towards the end of last year, but he was never really good. And like you said, I agree. I don't think he's going to have a good year. But we do have to take into accountability that they have a really good offensive line. Tristan Wirfs is one of the best tackles in the league. Ryan Jensen is one of the best centers in the league. They drafted Cody Mock, the toothless man. They drafted him in the first or second round, I believe. So they have high hopes for him. But other than that, nothing really too much. They let Cameron Brate walk, so now their starting tight end is Cade Otton. So it's a bit of a liability there, in my opinion. But Vita Vea is still there. Vita Vea is still a really good player, in my opinion, although he's getting up there in age. Shaq Barrett, I don't think Shaq Barrett's as good as he used to be, but he's still there. Levante David also, I wouldn't be surprised if they cut or trade him midseason. I just don't have high hopes for this season. And like I said, I completely agree with you. I think their big downfall will be Todd Bowles, who I really don't like, and Baker Mayfield, who I also really don't like as players and as a coach. So that's my opinion on the Buccaneers. Good thing we agree with that. But you said you have them in third. I have them in fourth. I want to hear who you have in last place in the division and what's the record.
Last place, I honestly could put like Buccaneers and Panthers interchangeable, but I think the Panthers are going to be the worst, in my opinion, just because Bryce Young, I think his height is really going to affect him. Like, I know we've seen guys like Kyler Murray still play pretty well, even with his height, but his number one receiver is who? Like what? Adam Thielen, who's up in his 30s now, who is good, but I don't know if you can rely on him being your number one for Bryce Young. Their defense is pretty good. They do have guys like what was that Brian's guy? Brian Burns. I really like him. They have a decent secondary. I think they have
J.C. Horn, one of the best corners in the game.
J.C. Horn, yes. Who I think he broke his ankle or something like that. So he's had a couple injuries going into his season, his career. But overall, I think they're going to be the worst. I think the Buccaneers just have better pieces around their quarterback. Even though if you were to put Bryce Young on the Buccaneers, they would be a lot better. Just because I think that Baker's not better than Bryce Young. Mm-hmm. But I have them 6-11.
6-11. Okay. I'd be down to argue this in full-on debate because this is one of the definitely going to be the biggest difference in our charts. I have the Panthers winning the NFC South. I have the Panthers going 8-9, and I have them winning the NFC South. I think this team is built good enough to be better than the Saints, better than the Falcons, and better than the Buccaneers. And that's all they need. My record prediction is 8-9. I don't think Bryce Young's height, he's short. We all understand. We all get it. That doesn't take away how good of a player he is. Why would he go number one overall if his height is going to affect him so much to the point where he can't do anything? Bryce Young has the most talent of any quarterback in this draft class. The preseason has showed that. Yes, he's short, but that doesn't impact how athletic he is, how good of a decision maker he is, how good pocket presence he has. He is ready to be a good NFL quarterback. I like Bryce Young. I like him. The simple as that. Miles Sanders, adding him to that offense is good for them, obviously. He can be really good. Yes, the wide receiver core is bad, but I don't think Adam Thielen is going to be as bad as some people think he's going to be. He could maybe be a 1,000-yard receiver as wide receiver one. I mean, they gave him a good amount of money. They expect him to produce. But the defense is where I really like it for the Panthers, man. Brian Burns and Derek Brown, that's an insane duo. Brian Burns is one of the best edge rushers in my opinion. He is just different. Like, honestly, the way he just does it is different. J.C. Horn is by far the most underrated cornerback in the league. I think he's top 10. He's so good. He's literally just he's so good. He can guard any team's wide receiver one. Literally, in my opinion, he could guard any team's wide receiver one. Dante Jackson's a good guy, and they signed Von Bell from the Bengals. Von Bell is pretty good safety. And then they got Frankie Louvu and Shaq Thompson, and they also got Deion Jones. I mean, those are three pretty good linebackers to have. While I do think that in order for them to win the South, I think all the puzzles need to come together. But my number one reason I have them win the South is because of Frank Reich. I think Frank Reich is going to do miracles on this Panthers team. If it was still Matt Rule, this is a 4-12 team, a 4-13 team. But with Frank Reich, I think this team's going to be good. I have high hopes for Bryce Young. I think that's the difference between you. I think you rely too much on his height, and I rely on his play, which is, I think, how you should judge a quarterback. Kyler Murray succeeds in the league. Bryce Young can do the same. I don't think his height is that much of an effect. He would not. I promise you there would be no talks about him going number 1 overall if his height would have that much an impact. So I just want to hear what you have to say to that. I have them winning the NFC South in Bryce Young's rookie season in not as good NFC South, with an 8-9 record, which is a really bad record to be a division winner, but still.
So yeah, I do see how Frank Reich could definitely help Bryce Young develop and be a good quarterback in his first year. I just think that even though he did play in the SEC, one of the toughest and the toughest division in college football, like, can we see Bryce Young go up against these guys and like take a couple of sacks, because they don't have the best offensive line in the league. So like, can he take these sacks and get up like it's nothing? And yeah, I do think he's a good quarterback, but I don't know if he'll be the best rookie quarterback going into this season. I think guys like C.J. Stroud might be a little bit better, in my opinion.
No, C.J. Stroud is not going to be better. C.J. Stroud has way less to work with than D'Amico Ryans is not going to help C.J. Stroud. I don't know. I'm sorry, but I couldn't tell you who their offensive coordinator is. I could not tell you who their offensive coordinator is. If you know who it is, let me know, but I'm sorry, but I don't know who their offensive coordinator is. They have Laramie Tunzel, and the rest of their line is ass. They have a worst, as bad as this might be, they have a worse wide receiver group. Dameon Pierce and Miles Sanders. I think Dameon Pierce, he's not really going to exceed much more than his really good rookie season last year. I think the puzzles, I don't know. This is just like my belief. This is one of those things where I can't give you like a detailed, specific reasoning, but this is one of those things where I have a feeling Bryce Young is going to be better than Derek Carr, Desmond Ridder, and Baker Mayfield. They're going to win most of their divisional matchups, and that'll help them win the division. I think it's going to be interesting to see. I think 6 games is too low, although I could see them winning 6 games and winning the division because of how bad the NFC South is. But, I mean, they've had some O-line issues because Ike Ekwonu, like, he was really good in his rookie year last year, but he's had some struggles during preseason, especially in the training camp. They have Taylor Moton, who's not bad on the right side, and they have pretty good interior O-line, but like you said, not the best. But I don't know. You don't have to be the best team to win this division, and I think Frank Reich can do enough to help them win the division. I think Bryce Young's going to be the best rookie quarterback. I think he's going to show his talent. He's going to be really good out of the pocket, and I think he's going to surprise some people. There are people that say Panthers are going to finish last. There's people that are going to say he's going to finish first. That's just my gut feeling. My gut feeling is that the Panthers are going to be better than the Saints, although, like I said, I could see any team winning, like I said before, just because of how similar all these teams are, and like how like all their teams are like good enough to win the division just because of how bad it is. I'm kind of repeating the same thing, but I don't know, man. I think the Panthers are going to win the NFC South, and I think Bryce Young's going to have a good rookie year.
I don't know. I don't see them winning it, but I could be wrong. I could definitely be wrong about them being last place. Like, I do see that, but I actually wanted to move into the Saints. I think that, and this might surprise you, I think it will. I think they're going to be 9-8 because of how bad their division is. I think that they're the most, I would say, like veteran and like um I don't want to say prepared, but they're
Experienced.
one of the more older teams. Derek Carr, I think, as much as I didn't like him because he was in the AFC West for a long time. Yes, he hasn't won a playoff game. He's had a couple of playoff appearances. I think he's going to play pretty well with the Saints. You know, playoffs, that's a whole different story. I don't think he'll arrive in the playoffs, but I think that they're good enough to win it. And yeah, I have them going 9-8, first place.
So like I said, I have the Panthers going 8-9. I also have the Saints going 8-9, so I have them tied. But I do think, like I said, the Panthers are a better team than the three teams in their division with how their roster stands right now. So I think that the Panthers, in my opinion, have a good shot of winning both of their matchups against the Saints, therefore giving them the tiebreaker and letting them win the division. I do agree. I don't think Derek Carr is going to be bad, but I think it relies a lot on his weapons. Jawan Johnson has kind of broken out as a pretty good tight end towards the end of last year. Alvin Kamara is suspended for the first 3 games, but they have Jamal Williams, and once Kamara comes back, I think that's a really good duo that could be really similar to what the Lions did. Jamal Williams can be that goal line back. Alvin Kamara can be just like how he was. I think last year was a bit of a down year for Kamara. I think he'll be better than he was last year. He really did not play good at all last year, even though he was healthy for a decent amount. He hasn't been really healthy for the past couple of years, but I think he'll play more games this season. But yeah, I think Derek Carr could go for 4,000 yards easy. I think he could have a 3-1 touchdown interception ratio easy. I think he's really going to develop a relationship and force feed Chris Olave. One thing about Derek Carr is he loves to feed his wide receiver one. We saw it with Amari Cooper. We saw it with Devontae Adams. And I feel like we're going to see it now over here in New Orleans. They have Dennis Johnson running the offense. I think him and Derek Carr kind of mesh well with the way I saw the Saints play last season with Andy Dalton and Jameis Winston. I think Derek Carr is a pretty good fit. Obviously, they gave him too much money, in my opinion, but I think he's a pretty good fit for what the Saints do and what Dennis Johnson does. And then it comes down to Michael Thomas. If Michael Thomas can stay healthy, if I can like barely open my eyes and see a little bit of 2019 Michael Thomas, I think the Saints are going to win the division. If Michael Thomas can be a slight bit of him for himself, I think he has it in him. I just literally have 0% faith in him staying healthy. Like I keep saying it year after year. He's going to come back to his own self. He's going to stay healthy. He's going to play some games. It just never happens. So I'm done betting on it. I'm just going to wait and see with that. But for the defense, they have Cam Jordan, who's still there, who's still a really good edge. Demario Davis, really good linebacker in this league. Tyrann Mathieu there. But their corner play is really not good. Their corner one is Bradley Roby.
Really, I didn't even know he was still in the league.
Yeah,
I just remember him from Denver.
Really not good, bro. Like, I mean, the defense... I mean, they have... except Marshawn Lattimore. But Marshawn Lattimore's hurt, so he's not going to be playing for, I think, the first couple of weeks. But,
yeah.
The Saints have always had a decent defense. Like, no matter, like, who they have there, like, if you really just, like, go back the last couple of years, they've had a top 15, top 10 defense every single year. They've never had a bad defense. I just think that's just how the Saints play. Every time my team plays against the Saints, I always think to myself, the Saints defense isn't bad. Like, that's just how it is. I don't think the Saints defense is going to be bad. I don't think Derek Carr's going to be bad. Do I think Derek Carr's going to excel them to an 11-win record to blow every other NFC South team out of the water? No. Do I think Derek Carr's going to do enough to possibly win the division? Yes. So I have the Panthers and the Saints at the same record at 8-9. I see either one of them. But like I said, I think the Panthers are the best team in this division, and they can definitely win both of their season matchups against New Orleans, in my opinion.
Yeah, I like Michael Thomas a lot too, but I don't think we'll ever get 2019 form back just because the team has changed a lot.
I just need a peek of
it. But the thing is, like a lot has changed. Like Sean Payton's gone, Drew Brees is gone, and his health is not the best. So I don't think we'll ever. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, if he can stay healthy, that's definitely just great to have another weapon. But we'll dive into the last team. What do we got? The Falcons. So I think you're going to have them pretty low because obviously you already have the Saints and Panthers being tied for number 1. I'm going to have them at 8-9. And the reason why I think they could be worse is because I don't really like Arthur Smith that much.
Mm-hmm.
He brought in last year Marcus Mariota. He couldn't make it happen, even though I think Mariota has a pretty good skill set. He couldn't make it work. They just had a bad situation with him, leaving after getting benched. But I think Desmond Ritter is being slept on a bit. I don't think he'll be, I don't think he'll be a top 15 quarterback, but I think he'll do enough with the guys around him. If he can just get Kyle Pitts the ball, man, I think they can be a pretty good offense. They got Cordell Patterson, who is getting up there in age, but he doesn't seem to really, do less when he gets older. He's still a pretty good kick returner. They got Bijan Robinson, who has looked pretty good, especially in training camp. He's even looked great as a receiver if they really need him to. They got to move him, to the slot or something in the dire case. But their defense has gotten better. They traded for Jeff Okudah, who, yes, he hasn't lived up to expectations, but they traded for not that much for him. And he could play really well. He's had some good games, especially against guys like Justin Jefferson. They brought in Jesse Bates from the Bengals on a pretty good deal. Their secondary is going to be pretty good this year.
Yeah. So for me, when it comes to the NFC South, I have Panthers, Saints, Falcons. I have the Falcons third. My record prediction for them is 6-11. So for me, I have Panthers, Saints tied at 8-9 for first place, and then tied for second, I have the Falcons and the Bucks at 6-11 both. But for me, it goes in terms of chances to win the NFC South. I have Panthers, Saints, Falcons, Buccaneers. I don't think the Buccaneers are going to win the division. Yeah. The Falcons have a chance. I'll explain why, but me personally, I don't like Desmond Ritter. I don't think he has a ceiling. I like what you said. I'm not high on him. Do you remember when I was talking earlier about Sam Howell? They got put in the exact same position. Last couple weeks of the year, the team isn't looking good. Playoff chances are dying down. Let's see what our rookie quarterbacks can do. Desmond Ritter didn't show me a single thing. Not one. And like I said, Sam Howell came in and he looked confident. That's why I had the Commanders being 7-10, and they're my number one sleeper in the NFC, while the Falcons I have at 6-11 and no chance really to do much. But I think what you said Bijan Robinson has looked good. Dude, this offense relies on Bijan Robinson. I want you and I want everyone watching to know that. Bijan Robinson is a game changer. I don't care about all this stupid crap about he's a rookie. How can you hype him up this much? This is ridiculous. Y'all are calling him top 10 running back, top 5 He is. He's a top 10 running back. This guy is special. Bijan Robinson is their whole offense. He's gonna be the workhorse running back. He's gonna play in the slot. He's gonna be a receiver out of the backfield. He's gonna do it all. I love Bijan Robinson. While I do think they did Tyler Algier dirty because he had such a good season with their run-heavy offense last year, and they drafted Bijan, number 7. I think Bijan Robinson is going to completely change this offense, man. It comes down to him. I think he's going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year, in my opinion, because they're going to force-feed him. Like I said, they're in a really run-heavy offense, and both him and Tyler Algier can definitely get the job in there. I think Cordell Patterson, now since he's third on the depth chart, I think he's going to go back to more of his receiver role, even though he might not play as much. But Drake London, I kind of like Drake. I kind of like the chances of a second-year jump for Drake London. He showed some flashes. I think he's one of the best route runners from last year's draft class. Obviously, he didn't have the numbers because they just didn't pass that ball that much, and Marcus Mariota, frankly, was not very good when he did pass the ball. I do have high hopes for Drake London. They have Mac Hollins, who normally I wouldn't think of, but then I saw that video of him being the most jacked wide receiver to ever play the game of football and mossing A.J. Terrell over and over in training camp, and that changes things for me. I think Mac Hollins is a solid wide receiver too. On a team that doesn't pass as much as other teams, like if he was wide receiver 2 on the Lions or saw a pass-heavy team, no, I don't think he would be a good wide receiver 2. But on this team, I think he can be that. That man is huge, bro. You know the video I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's insane, bro. That's insane. I believe that hype in him. Kyle Pitts, man, that's the number one reason I don't like Arthur Smith. Like, why do you draft a tight end number 4 overall and like he doesn't even get like 50 receptions a season, bro. Doesn't make sense to me, man. They need to start giving Kyle Pitts the ball. Like, I'm begging them to give Kyle Pitts the ball, bro. He's such a good player. He really is. And while I don't think that, like, he can be one of the best tight ends in the league, I think he can hit the top 5 if Desmond Ridder throws him the ball. But to me, it comes down to Desmond Ridder. And I don't like Desmond Ridder, man. He didn't show me anything. He seems like he's hit his ceiling. To me, I compare him to Mac Jones, a guy that they drafted to come in and hopefully win some games, a guy who can't really excel. Do you think Mac Jones is going to have a huge leap and become an MVP candidate? I don't think anyone has ever said that in a million years. I think the same with Desmond Ridder. I think they drafted him in the 2nd or 3rd round, maybe even 4th round. I just don't think he's going to be that good. They do have a pretty good offensive line. They have Jake Matthews, Chris Lindstrom, obviously one of the best offensive guards in the league. Their defense, A.J. Terrell, obviously he was really good 2 years ago, and he kind of had a down year last season, but I still do think he's a really good cornerback one on any team in the league, so I like him a lot. Jeff Okudah, although injury-prone, he definitely has a chance to revive his career in Atlanta. I've seen some pretty good stuff from him in training camp. I really love the Jesse Bates signing. That really excels their defense, in my opinion. He's a really good safety in this league, and obviously, like you said, they got him on a pretty good contract, I believe, so I really like that for them. The rest of the defense doesn't look that good, though. I mean, they signed Calais Campbell, but I don't think he'll have that much of an impact as other people think he will. Grady Jarrett's still there, but he's aging. He's not as good as he used to be. It comes down to Desmond Ridder and Bijan Robinson and Arthur Smith. I don't like Arthur Smith either. I think the plays he calls sometimes are just dumb, just plain out dumb. I think he doesn't utilize his players to their correct thing. I think that's part of the reason why Marcus Mariota failed last season, but So yeah, I have the Falcons at 6-11. Although obviously I think they have higher chance than the Buccaneers to win the division, and I think they can if Desmond Ridder proves me wrong. I just don't believe in Desmond Ridder, but I do believe in Bijan Robinson, and I hope he has a really good year.
All right, so now going into the NFC West, we got so we're gonna have Devin say if he agrees or not. I think we're gonna have similar rankings here. Mm-hmm. I have the Niners in 12-5. I think that if they can just 100%, figure out like who's gonna be QB 1, 2, and 3, because obviously Sam Darnold and Trey Lance, as we're recording, are competing. Sam Darnold has a little bit. Is a little ahead of Trey Lance just because Trey Lance doesn't look the best. But if they can just figure out their quarterback situation 110%, they have one of the best rosters, one of the best receivers. They have Ayuk, Deebo, Christian McCaffrey, who can catch out of the backfield, and was able to stay healthy when the Niners got one of the best defenses. They got Fred Warner, the Kinlaw dude. They got Eric Armstead.
Javon Kinlaw's
so they're a reliable.
He's not good.
He's not that good.
He's terrible. Like horrible.
I thought he had like a pretty good season.
He had a good rookie year, and then he sucks now.
The rookie year. So that's what I must be thinking about.
He's trash.
So, and then I got the Seahawks at 9-8, the same record. I don't think they'll like take much of a big step. Maybe make the playoffs again and get knocked out. And then I have the Rams at 6-11, which might be a little low, but they sold their soul for the Super Bowl, and the Cardinals at 3-14.
I have them at 2-15.
2-15. I originally had them at 4-13. I was being generous, but I was like, I don't know. I think they'll be worse than the Raiders. If they had to play each other.
It's Caleb Williams' time. So. I agree completely. The only thing different is one game difference for the Seahawks. I have the Seahawks at 10-6. I just want to do my quick, because we're trying to wrap this up. I'm just trying to do my quick in-depth, like not in-depth, but analysis on each team on why I think. I have the 49ers at 12-5. The 49ers is my favorite team. I've been definitely paying attention a lot to the training camp. You said they need to figure out their QB situation. I don't think it's as big of a deal as you're saying, because all they need to figure out is who's going to be QB2, who's going to be QB3, and that doesn't really matter unless Brock Purdy gets hurt. Yeah, I think they're going to split backup duty, so Kyle Shanahan will just put whoever the hell he feels like it in if Brock Purdy goes down or whatever. But I think they have a really good team. Obviously, they lost guys like Jimmy Ward, Azeez Al-Shaair, but Fred Warner's still there. Dre Greenlaw's still there. That's still one of the best linebacker duos in the league. I am really starting to get worried about the Nick Bosa situation. Although, I think if it's going to happen before week 1, it's going to be this week. It's going to be before Friday, in my opinion. If it happens this week, it's going to happen before Friday. But I have a feeling if it doesn't happen this week, I don't know if he'll be out there week 1, which is really scary. John Lynch, give the man a blank check. He's the best player in the NFL. God damn it. Okay, sorry. The cornerback situation, it's fine. I feel like some people are over-exaggerating it. Mooney Ward is good as cornerback 1. I feel like Diomador Lenore, I feel like he definitely stepped up. I didn't really like him, but he really played good in the playoffs. He had an interception in like every single game he played. They do have to figure out the slot cornerback position because they originally signed Isaiah Oliver from the Falcons to do that, but he has been horrible. I think Ambry Thomas, their third-year guy, can step into that perfectly and fill in that cornerback. Obviously, in my opinion, that's the weakest part of their defense, but it's fine. They got past with it, and I do like Mooney Ward as cornerback 1. They have Talanoa Hufanga, who I just think is just going to keep getting better, man. The sky's the limit for that kid. He broke out last season. I think he's just going to keep going. There's just an amazing player there. They still got Tashawn Gibson, a veteran in this league, who was good last year alongside Hufanga, so I like that. Eric Armstead, still really good. If Nick Bosa's not back by week 1, they do have Drake Jackson, who's still there, who can be good off the edge. But obviously, why would you not want reigning defense player of the year? And yeah, I mean, their defense is the best in the league, in my opinion. The only ones that compete, in my opinion, are the Eagles. But I think the Niners are better. They're more dominant, in my opinion. I feel like they have the same amount of like star power and everything, but I just think the Niners are more dominant and they allow less points to teams, in my opinion. If you look at the games from last season, the Eagles were allowing more points than the Niners were. The Niners were allowing a lot of teams to 10 or less. So that's why I think they're better. Brock Purdy, I think he's going to be good, period. No, I've never seen anything like last season. Last pick in the draft, Mr. Relevant, come in and just not necessarily dominate, but do literally exactly what he's supposed to do. Exactly what he's supposed to. Come in there and be a serviceable, good quarterback. That's exactly what he did. Brock Purdy is our QB1. I'm sorry, Trey Lance truthers, but I think we have to trade him. Man, if he's QB3, third overall pick. But I hate the people saying worst bust of all time, worse than Jamarcus Russell, worse than Zach Wilson. Ridiculous. How do you expect a guy to grow if he started 5 games, in 3 years?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, man. I love Trey Lance, but I like Brock Purdy more as a quarterback. But Trey Lance fans, I'm sorry, he's not going to be there. I do think he maybe should be QB2 over Sam Darnold, but I don't know. That's another discussion for another day. Obviously, Deebo Samuel, Christian freaking McCaffrey is insane. Still got Elijah Mitchell, George Kittle, top 5, maybe even top 3 tight end in the league. Brandon Ayuk. I want you to listen to me. Brandon Ayuk is a top 5 route runner in the NFL. Brandon Ayuk is going to have a breakout season. I don't think y'all understand how good of a wide receiver Brandon Ayuk is. I don't think y'all understand. And the sad part, he's going to have a breakout season, and we're not going to be able to pay him, and he's going to leave. That's the saddest part. But he is so good. He might be better than Deebo. Him and Deebo are 1A, 1B. Deebo obviously fell off a little just because McCaffrey took his backfield work, his rushing work, his receiving out of the backfield work, all that. But Deebo, just a special talent, man, just with his route running, his ability to escape defenders, his big play ability, so all that. So, yeah, I think the 49ers, 12-5, 13-4, I think that's reasonable for them. I think they're going to come. I wouldn't be surprised if they lose week 1 to Pittsburgh. They always start off the year slow. They started off 3-3 last season, so yeah. Oh my God, that was bad. But yeah, that's why I think they're not going to be as good last year. The Seahawks, I have them at 10-6 just because I really do like them drafting JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba, although he did get hurt today and he's probably going to be out the first couple weeks of the regular season. I don't think Geno Smith had a fluke. A lot of people do. I don't. I think Geno Smith has solidified himself as a top 15 quarterback in this league. And I think he's going to do exactly what he did last year. The defense is still good. Holy shit, I'm blanking. Tariq Woolen, he's just going to keep getting better. Probably the best. Him and Sauce Gardner, the 2 best young corners in the league. Kobe Bryant, not the Lakers Kobe Bryant, but Kobe Bryant on the Seahawks, he's going to be really good as well. So yeah, I have that for the Seahawks. The Rams at 6-11, I don't see the injury woes going away for them personally. I don't see the injury woes going away. They have Matthew Stafford, they have Cooper Kupp, and the rest of the team is garbage, bro. Especially the offense. Like, go down everyone else. Horrible. Cam Akers is not good. I don't care what you say. Van Jefferson, not good as wide receiver 2. I don't care what you say. And the rest are bums. It's Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp, who have been injury prone. Cooper Kupp is in his 30s. Matthew Stafford is about to retire soon. It's not a good situation. Like you said, they sold their soul for a Super Bowl, and now they're just reaping what they sowed. Aaron Donald's still there. He's still going to be good, but Aaron Donald's not going to make them a playoff team. So, yeah, not much for the Rams. They're going to be mediocre. If they win 9 games because Cooper Kupp is the best and Matthew Stafford goes back to Pro Bowl quarterback, sure, call me out. And then the Arizona Cardinals, man, 2-15. I think the earliest I could expect Kyler to come back, week 6 or 7. But I think
like week 8.
I think it's closer to somewhere between week 8 and 12, somewhere like that. Colt McCoy is not going to win you games. I'm sorry, any Cardinals fans watching. I'm sorry that you have to hear it, but Colt McCoy, Clayton Tune, they're not winning you games. The team is trash. Marquise Brown is not a wide receiver 1. James Conner is injury prone. He's not a good RB1. And your defense sucks. Your defense sucks. And what do I have to say about the Cardinals? They're tanking, bro. The only question is, what if they get the number 1 overall pick, do they go Caleb Williams? If they do go Caleb Williams, what do they do with Kyler? Because I don't even know if they can trade that crazy-ass contract they gave him. But the only thing they have going for them on defense is Budda Baker, who might get traded. But the Cardinals are going to be bad. If the Cardinals win more than 5 games, I'll get a Cardinals tattoo on my shoulder. I don't know, bro. Like, they're just going to be bad, man. So, do you have anything else to say for the NFC West teams, or are you done with that?
I just wanted to say, like, it is a weird situation because the Cardinals, if they end up being the number 1 worst team in the league, like, Kyler Murray obviously can still, in my opinion, like, his ceiling is a top 10 quarterback, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have Caleb Williams right there, like, it's hard not to choose him because right now I don't know, like, who you could choose over him.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, he has a pretty big contract right now. You don't really want to, like, cut him because it's big loss in dead money.
Mm-hmm.
Trading him would be kind of hard. But yeah, and I'm interested to see what Jonathan Gannon could do. He was a really good defensive coordinator before the Super Bowl. Like, the Super Bowl, they made, like, 0 adjustments against Kansas City. But yeah, I think that the NFC West will just mainly be dominated by the Niners. Seahawks will have their good games here and there, finish second, but I don't see them getting too far either.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't really like Jonathan Gannon. I feel like, I don't know, from what I've seen so far from him, I don't think he'll change the team that much. I don't see him lasting more than 3 years.
And they're the worst, like, rated, like, team in general.
Yeah.
Like, facilities,
staff.
Yeah, like,
exactly.
they have to pay for their food in the facilities.
Yeah, bro, like, what the... Yeah.
The worst, like, workout equipment is just horrible.
They're down bad in
Not
Arizona.
good trainers.
Yeah, they're down bad over there. And I was going to say one other thing. I forgot, though. I was going to say one other thing about the Cardinals, but I forgot. But it's okay. They're going to be bad. What I was going to say is we have to remember that they have the Texans' first-round pick. That's another thing they have to deal with.
Yeah.
If C.J. Stroud doesn't have a good rookie year, they could have 2 top 5, top 3 picks. That would really set them up. And that would put Jonathan Gannon in a position to succeed. And then if he doesn't succeed, then I feel like he's on the chopping block. But that's what I have for the Cardinals. That's what I have for the NFC in general. Do you have anything else?
No.
Yeah, me neither. So that'll do it. We're going to finish off here with the NFC. We'll finish the AFC. That'll be uploaded just probably a couple days after this. But those are our official NFC predictions. We appreciate you if you're still here watching. You know, it's a pretty long episode, but I'll leave timestamps and everything in the description of the YouTube. If you're listening on Spotify, we appreciate you. But that'll be it from us. We'll be back with the AFC predictions. David, you got anything to say before we head out?
No, that's it. Thanks for watching.
All right. Appreciate y'all for watching, and we'll see y'all in the next episode.